Hey everybody, Rosematter here, and welcome to part 55 of my Umineko Let's Play, the last episode. As expected, after Badler solved the epitaph, of course, there's a question of whether he is actually the new head of the Ushiromiya family, which of course is causing some tension between Kroos and Natsui and the rest of the family. And we also got another call from this mysterious man talking about Natsui's sin from 19 years ago, calling her mother, calling her a murderer. And we learned a little bit more of what was going on with that, about Natsui basically being given a baby after being unable to give birth. And the baby ended up falling off a cliff and supposedly dying. So that's interesting. So I imagine we will be hopefully seeing this mysterious man in person at some point, but it is now the next day, October 5th, which means that I imagine the first twilight has happened. Because even though the epitaph has been solved, we can't have this game without some murders, right? Wouldn't be as interesting. So I am nervous and excited to see what kind of murders we're going to be seeing. Or maybe I'll be mistaken. Maybe there will be no... Actually, no, that's not true. Because we started at this game kind of towards the end with Erika saying that she knows who the killers are or something like that. So we do know some murders happen. So, yeah, that's enough talking for me. Let's go ahead and let's get back into this. Was it someone's alarm clock? A repetitive electronic beeping noise filled the room. Badler, who had gone to bed late and hadn't had anywhere near enough sleep yet, covered his head in his blanket and waited for someone to turn off the alarm. But no matter how much time passed, the beeping didn't stop. I see. The point of an alarm clock isn't just to be loud enough to wake you, but to be annoying enough to keep you from wanting to fall back asleep. Hey guys, the alarm's going off. Make it stop, please. Poor Badler. He's about to have another very long day. Why do we always sound so annoyed when first waking up? Well, it does make sense. After all, we're still sleepy and in a bad mood. However, there's absolutely no sign that my annoyed voice had caused anyone to turn over in their sleep, much less crawl out of bed to stop the alarm. Letting out a deep sigh, I flung the covers off me and got up. With the shutters down on the windows, there was almost no light getting in, and the room was as dim as it had been earlier. Though, even if the shutters hadn't been down— oh my gosh, how crazy would it be is if all the cousins around him were dead, and that's why no one's waking up? Though even if the shutters hadn't been down, there's no way that this dull weather would have let in enough sun to make this a pleasant morning. My cousins were still wrapped up in their beds, sound asleep, and taking no notice whatsoever of that beeping— oh, they might be. Oh shit. Normally, once any one person gets up, the others tend to automatically follow. Annoyed that the law of consecutive summer camp awakenings that I'd come up with had just been broken, I drowsily searched for the source of the sound. Damn, that would be so fucked up if Balor's just surrounded by his dead cousins. I could hear it coming from a wristwatch set on the table. Judging by the style of watch, it was probably George Aniki's. Taking a random guess, I pushed a small button on the side of it, and the sound stopped. Apparently it had been set for 7 in the morning. Is it already 7? Sorry, but I really don't feel like I slept at all. Playing cards had been left on the table. Playing cards had been left on the table as though they had stopped mid-game. The game looked like 7s. Damn it, I've got a piercing headache. What the hell was all that last night? That mountain of gold and the subsequent argument between our parents. It all feels like a bad dream. It's about to get worse, my dude. I'm sorry. Breakfast normally starts at 8. Now isn't a bad time to start getting up and getting dressed. Adults probably won't argue in front of us cousins. In that case, I think I'll stay with my cousins all day long. I'm sure they'll be able to keep me away from all that annoying talk about the gold and being the successor and all. In fact, I should have done that in the first place. Nope, by having the cousins all dead, there's no getting away from it. Oh my gosh. I slept with my clothes on last night, so I'm drenched in sweat. Gross. I guess I'll take a shower. I'm sure the others want to, too. At this age, it's embarrassing to wake them by shaking their shoulders. If I turn the TV on, everyone will probably wake up. And I'm sure that alarm, it could have been set by George to wake up on time, but I wonder if that was put in by the murderer to make sure that Badler woke up and sees what happened. I hope I'm wrong, but The fact that nobody's waking up, I'm just like, I'm getting a bad feeling about this. Well, let's at least turn the lights on for now. In this dim light. Oh yes, this is so leading up to him finding their bodies. In this dim light, with the quiet sound of the continuing wind and rain, it really doesn't feel like morning's come yet. I flipped the white switch, and then that dimly lit morning ended. Yep. Yep. Oh, wow. Wow. This is crazy, the fact that all this happened. Now, here's the thing. I'm guessing, did someone come in the middle of the night and kill them all while Badler was sleeping? Or were they all murdered before he got to bed? Because he got back at like 3 in the morning, right? As they clung to Aniki's corpse, knowing he would never wake up again. Auntie Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi cried. Was it just George? When Auntie Ava tried even harder to cling to his corpse, Dad and Uncle Hideyoshi dragged her away and had a heated debate with her beside the wall. It is, man, every time George dies, it breaks my heart. Ava might not be my favorite character, but like, of all the characters, you can feel her heartbreak the most with him and with Hideyoshi.
Ava-san, お気の毒だが、今のジョージ君に必要なのはあなたの血ではないのです。
Dr. Nanjo shook his head slightly and nodded across to where I stood. I softly pulled the blanket up and covered George Aniki's body. I wonder if Ava's gonna blame Badler for this. His throat had been split wide open. The wound was probably larger and deeper than his mouth. Did it look like a clean and neat corpse now that his neck was at least covered? Of course not. The large amount of blood that had spilled from the wound stained the blood out of the bed a horrible dark red, and even covering him with the blanket couldn't hide the blood that had poured out. After all, there were large dark red stains on the blanket too. See, even if someone had caught George while he was sleeping, I imagine he'd make gurgling noises or something. The fact that Badler didn't hear it? Did Badler, I'm trying to think, did he drink? Did he, like, when he came back, did he maybe drink something? Did, like, Goda make him something? Maybe he was drugged and that's why he slept through it. So that even once he was covered with it, the gruesomeness of the body was still being thrust in our faces. So I stripped the blankets off my bed and placed one on top. But I only had 2 blankets, so if I covered just one more body, oh, I wouldn't be able to cover any more. Feeling pity for the ones I couldn't cover. Yep, it's multiple. For some reason, in spite of the situation, I muttered, "Don't complain about not getting the same as everyone else," inside my head.
Kirie, みんなに毛布をかけてやれ。風邪をひいちまう。
Yeah, this looks real sus that Balor's the only one who survived. Kirie-san and I covered the other bodies with their blankets, in the same way as George and Iki's. Where's Natsui and Kraus? Have they not woken up yet? And Rosa, too. I'm assuming Amaria's dead, as they said their bodies. So they wouldn't have to suffer the indignity of having their terrible wounds exposed like this anymore. In one bed rested Jessica. Jessica was exactly the same as George and Iki, though she appeared to be resting quietly in the bed. Her throat had been sliced deep, and the wound lay open in a brutal way. And Mario is the same. Okay, so unlike Beatrice, Mario normally gets a less brutal death, it seems like, but not this time. Not only Maria, there was one more victim, lying on the same bed, sleeping. Oh, shit. Well, that explains that. I'm guessing Natsui and Kraus might not know yet. Lying on the same bed, sleeping alongside her, was Auntie Rosa. Alright. George Aniki, Jessica, Maria, and Auntie Rosa. Alright, we just heard the jingle, so let's check the character profiles here. Alright, Jessica, a corpse discovered in the cousin's room on the upper floor of the guest house. The direct cause of death is unknown, but her neck was sliced open by a sharp blade. The wound was deep enough that anyone could easily confirm her death with absolute certainty. There's the whole thing about certainty, right? Same thing. Exact same thing. So they all says the same thing here. Okay. So they haven't confirmed that it was a locked room scenario, but I wouldn't be surprised if this was a locked room scenario. And if that's the case, Badler is definitely the most suspect. In this room were 4 people who'd been killed, their throats sliced open. They'd probably been like that since last night, unless it's the case where, like I said, this happened before Badler got back to the room, and he was so tired and it was so dark he didn't even notice. I came back to the room completely ignorant, snuggled under the covers, and fell asleep right next to them. Okay, so now we have to think of, like, alright, who wasn't around when this happened? We know all of the... Rosa, that's right, Rosa left early, didn't she? So all the other siblings, they have alibis, so now I guess we have to think about the servants that weren't there, right? And Dr. Nancho. All of them had a horizontal cut across their throats. I had been forced to see all the way to the depths of those gashes in everyone's throat. Those cuts might even have reached as far as halfway into their necks. If you tried to open one up, you'd probably be able to see that gash reached all the way to the bone. The only wounds were a single gash on each neck. So if you just covered their necks with your hand, you might be able to persuade yourself that they were merely sleeping. But even so, this frighteningly deep wound was incredibly gruesome. There's no such thing as clean or dirty ways of killing. All methods of killing are equally brutal. But even so, this was incredibly brutal. And there was one more thing which adorned these brutal murders to make them even more unsettling. Drawn very large on the wall was something like an eerie magic circle. It was drawn in a bright red paint which looked like blood, making it look as though some disturbing ritual had taken place in this room, with the 4 of them offered as human sacrifices. However, none of us were paying it any attention. No one had a heart so cold they could witness the deaths of those close to them, and still worry about some graffiti on the wall. And there's Erika with her smile. I almost forgot she was there. Except unless you're Erika, then you do have a heart of steel and ice. The girl who bragged she drew more pleasure from the process of exposing the truth than from the truth itself, and who went so far as to call herself an intellectual rapist, appeared in the hall. When she saw the extraordinarily creepy magic circle in this gruesome room, I heard what was unmistakably a sigh of admiration escape her lips. On Erika's face, no, that's not it. It was in her eyes. In Erika's eyes I could see a shameless smile that was hard to describe. She found this entertaining. She found the outbreak of a crime entertaining. It was like the smile of a kid waiting in the wings at a school play, moments before she was due to come on stage. Time for that main character syndrome. She'd be like, I will solve these murders. Not because I care about the people who died, but because it's a challenge.
すまねえな、エリカちゃん。取り込み中だ。部屋で待っててくれるか。
そういうわけには参りません。現場検証は探偵の権利ですので。
お前に用はないと言ってんだぜ。部外者はおとなしく引っ込んでろ。
現場検証を妨害する容疑者が犯人であるミステリーは三流。
Oh, she's saying straight up like Badler. I think you're the. I don't. She obviously doesn't really believe he's the murderer, but just to kind of throw him off.
というのが私の持論ですか。
お前の都合など知るか。出ていけ。お前なんかお呼びじゃね
エリカちゃん、ほんまにすまんが部屋に戻っててくれんか。今は取り込み中なんや。
ジョージジョージどいてください。現場検証できません。
もしそれが必要なら俺たちがするし、警察がする。お前にみんなの亡骸をさらに恥ずかしめる権利なんかあるわけがねえ。
探偵権限。
Oh, red truth.
探偵は全ての現場を検証する権利を持つ。そこをどきなさい。後ろ宮バトラー、これは人間側に認められたゲームの正当な権利よ。
Those words, which seemed to be utterly ridiculous at first, were words of power that had come from a world much higher than theirs. Badler was thrown back by an unseen power and landed on his butt. Alright, okay. Struck silent by Erika's quiet intensity and the bizarre, suffocating atmosphere, nobody was able to prevent her from entering the room.
ご安心を。死者の尊厳を犯すことが目的ではありませんので、別に喉の切り口なんておぞましいもの覗きたくありませんし、私が知りたいのはもっと別のことです。つまりこの殺人を誰が行ったかです。南條先生、それから皆さん、特に第一発見者のバトラさん、いろいろとお尋ねしたいことがありますのでご協力をお願いします。
だから何の権限があってだよ。
私が探偵だからよ。
Badler couldn't argue against this incomprehensible nonsense. No, he wasn't permitted to argue. It was a restriction placed on pieces. Erika summoned Dr. Nanjo and got him to tell her in detail about his preliminary findings. Normally, he wouldn't have spoken of that to an outsider so casually. However, for some reason, the atmosphere about the place had begun to make it feel as though nothing should be hidden from Erika.
さて、ラムダの第一の番、楽しませてもらおうかしら。死体は4つ ?2 つ足りないわ。まあ、6人殺す義務もないわけだけど、そういう遊びだしね。あの子、空気読める子だから。
Oh.
あと2人もどこかで殺してるに違いないわ。
It's gotta be Kraus and Natsui, right? That would explain why they haven't come to see Jessica yet, or why they haven't shown up. But it could be it could be any of the servants as well. There's a magic circle on the wall representing the first twilight, similar to the one in Beato's games. That girl talks big, but I wonder just how closely she can imitate Beato. Ha ha ha. Your Hebrew sure is crappy, Lambda. You've got this part slightly wrong. And now we've got the Stake Sisters showing up.
どういうこと？どうして魔法陣が？きっとベアトリーチェ様の真似がしたかったのよ。あは、へったくそな魔法陣。
真似どころじゃないわよ。人間の誰かがベアトリーチェ様の仕業に見せかけるためにわざわざ書いたんだわ。とにかくベアトリーチェ様に報告を。
ゴールドスミスの秘密を守る仕事だけでもお腹いっぱいなのに迷惑な話ね。でも全然美しくない殺人だわ。別に密室でもないし不可能犯罪でもない。こんな無様な殺人、ベアトリーチェ様に全然ふさわしくないわ。
フルドエリカか。予期せぬ事件に予期せぬ女、そして19年前の予期せぬ男。気分はバトラーに解かれるし、今回のゲームは普段とまるで違うわ。
So that's the question with this one, is if the epitaph is already solved, why are the murders still happening?
何がどうなってるの？行くわよ。はい、お姉様。
There was the game with Ava. Ava solved the epitaph, but the murder still happened. But in my theory video for that chapter, I said it was because I believe Ava was still murdering people. So she broke the rules. So the murders had to continue. But in this case, I don't have an answer of why they're still happening, other than Lambda wants them to. Because it wouldn't be much of a game if there were no murders. Alright, well, Goda's still alive. Oh, Goda. Well, you know what? He had a good dinner, at least. I think the dinner went pretty well. His breakfast, not so much. Oh, sorry. It says, in the kitchen, Goda was making breakfast. The main dish would be herb omelet. Oh, that sounds good. Even simple foods could become an invigorating feast under Goda's skillful hands. The music's so bouncy and happy. He has no idea what's going on. He was planning to complete all the other preparations for the meal here beforehand, and then cook their individual omelets fresh before their eyes in the dining hall, serving them up one by one. Goda hummed as he continued his preparations in high spirits. And Shannon's alive. With Shannon, who was helping out, saw Goda like this, her mood also brightened. She arranged the salad in a neat little pattern and showed it to Goda.
こんな感じでどうでしょう。トマトの感じがちょっと可愛くなったと思います。
実に良いですよ。シャノンさんもなかなか分かってまいりましたね。
The two happy people gave each other a high five. Shannon didn't like Goda when he was sneaky, but she had no problems at all with him when he was cooking happily. She sometimes even thought it would have been nice if his contract hadn't included any jobs besides cooking. If that had been the case, he wouldn't have had to get in a bad mood during unnecessary jobs. And Kumasawa's alive?
いつでも運べますからね。
もうじきですので、配膳車の準備をお願いします。
At least the servants are in good spirits for now. Without thinking, even Kumasawa caught Goda's high spirits. The kitchen had a very nice smell and atmosphere about it, truly refreshing for so early in the morning. Oh, and Cannon. Alright, so that's all the servants accounted for, other than Genji. Then Cannon came back in the usual bad mood he always had from the moment he woke up. Cannon and Genji were in charge of getting many things ready for the morning, such as opening the curtains. However, Cannon had been alone today, so it had taken much longer than usual.
終わったよ。源氏様は？
Alright, Genji. Well, that's a weird one. I thought for sure it would be... This could be a fake out, but I thought it'd be Natsui and Kraus would be the two. And you think Natsui and Kraus would be the two most likely to commit murder, considering that they're at risk of losing the headship.
珍しいわね。寝坊されるなんて。
あの源氏さんでもお寝坊をね。
親族会議の最中だというのに緊張感に欠けてますね。カノンさん、起こしてきてあげてくれませんか？
はい。
寝ぼけ眼の源氏さんってどんな顔なのかしら。私もご一緒しますよ。
Even though Goda had asked her to get the serving cart ready, Kumasawa followed nimbly after Cannon, skillfully skipping work. As Cannon muttered about how Goda was the one who slept in all the time, he headed for the servants' sleeping quarters.
カノンさんは今朝起こさなかったんですか？
僕は昨夜使用人室でそのまま寝ちゃったんで控室には戻ってないんです。
Last night, Cannon had dozed off while in the middle of his late night shift, falling asleep in the servant room. Shannon had been kind enough to put a blanket on him, but that had just made it so warm he fell into an even deeper sleep, so he hadn't returned to his bed in the servants' quarters last night. Because of that, he hadn't met Genji even once this morning. He knocked on the door.
源氏様、カノンです。おはようございます。
あらあら、まだお休みかしら。
失礼します。
When Cannon was about to open the door, he noticed something strange on the upper part of it. Blood? Oh, what's that? Duct tape? A small strip of duct tape was stuck along the frame of the door. Locked room scenario again, almost as though it was sealing the door shut. Oh, furthermore, there were small slits made with scissors along the center of the duct tape, so if you open the door even a slight amount, it would be torn in two. Also, written sloppily across the duct tape with a fine pen was what appeared to be someone's signature. It was written in a very elaborate and decorative manner, and if it was a signature, Cannon had no idea whose name was written.
誰かのいたずらでしょうか。
わからないけど、こんなの今は気にしててもしょうがない。源氏様、失礼します。
He opened the door, ripping the duct tape. Nothing in particular happened when it was ripped, so the strange piece of duct tape was quickly forgotten. The room was dimly lit. The bunk bed's lower bunk still had a lump under the blanket. Apparently Genji was still sleeping. He's gonna have his throat cut too, right?
おはようございます。
I have to say, for other than the fact that the bodies were in the same room as Battler, I was expecting, considering Lambda Delta is the one that's doing this game, I guess I was expecting something more elaborate, I guess, than just slit throats.
源氏さんらしくもない。
Maybe Beatrice is the one with more of the flair for the dramatic, like having the bodies stuffed with sweets and, you know, the Halloween decorations and everything. This seems so pedestrian.
朝でございますよ。
源氏様。
なんですかこれは。なんですかこれは。
There was a large dark red stain on the blanket. Though this was one of the servants' blankets, even those were always kept clean. There was no way they would have a stain like this. Cannon hesitantly peeled back Genji's blanket, saw what was left of him, and was shocked into silence.
何よこれ、首がすっぱりやられてる。
エーリだ。相当の刃渡りのものでなければここまでの切り口にはできまい。
どういうことよ。碑文の謎をバトラが解いたんでしょ。どうして殺人が起こるわけ。
わからん。いずれにせよ厄介なことになるぞ。ベアトリーチェ様とナツヒ様にご報告申し上げた方がいい。
ベルフェは急いでルシネに報告を。
心得た。
After dashing out, Kumasawa called Goda and Shannon over. Then, this new pair let out screams identical to the first two.
ちょっとゴーダ、朝食の準備をサボっちゃダメ。
そんなこと言ってる場合じゃないでしょ。2日目の朝食は決して静かに取れやしないってわけだわ。嫌な予感がする。源氏だけで済まないかもしれない。屋敷内を確認するわよ。他にも何か起こっているかもしれない。はい、
お姉様。
You know, actually, now thinking about, like, Natsui getting that call from this guy, it's doubtful that Natsui would be dead yet, because we still have the mysteries. There's the phone call. Alright, maybe it's Kraus. Because we gotta think, there's one more, right? There has to be one more body. We've got George, Maria, Rosa. Wait, is it 6, the first Twilight? So there's Maria, Rosa, George, Jessica, Goda. Or not Goda, bleh, Genji. Natsui sprang awake at the sudden sound of the phone. To Natsui, the fact she'd woken up was surprising in itself. She had thought she was going to spend the whole night unable to sleep out of fear that this mysterious man might come in at any moment. But at some point, she must have fallen asleep. Of course, she still didn't feel rested at all. As she groaned from the dull pain in her head, which hadn't gone away once since last night, she managed to get out of bed.
おはようございます、夏日様。おはよう。最悪の朝です。ご安心を。誰も部屋へ立ち入ろうとはしませんでした。さあ、不審判をありがとう。
Even so, that didn't mean she had been able to sleep peacefully. The continued ringing of the phone made her headache throb even more strongly.
電話にお出になられた方がよろしいかと。あと、良くないご報告が妹たちから。良くない報告は後にしましょう。先に電話を取ります。
Oh yeah, right. Also, Natsui doesn't know about Jess yet. Natsui shook her head to wake herself up and pick up the receiver. Then she regretted not listening to Lucifer's bad news first, because she wanted the first thing she heard about on this horrible morning to be something better than this. There he is. That voice told her this horrible morning, this nightmare, was still not over.
約束は守りましたよ。私はずっと部屋にこもっていました。もちろん電話もしていません。
でもこの電話には出ちゃったよね。
それは
冗談だよ。この電話は母さん思いの僕からのモーニングコールだ。おはよう母さん。
人はどれだけ苦労すれば。
Natsui gripped the receiver so hard it creaked.
パーティーの準備のために母さんには席を外してほしかったのさ。おかげで準備は整ったよ。もちろん主賓は母さんだ。
何を始めるつもりですか？
それは今日のお楽しみかな。大丈夫。待たせないよ。もう始まってる。そうだ、ちょっと待って。声を聞かせたい人がいる。
There was the sound of the receiver being jolted around. The phone was apparently being passed to someone else, but there was a clunking, clattering noise, as though it was taking a lot of effort to hand the receiver over. Who in the world was he giving the phone to? From what Natsui knew of this man, no matter who he was giving the phone to, it couldn't be good news for her. Alright, so Kraus is alive for now.
あなたなの？
It was without a doubt the voice of her husband. However, he didn't respond to Natsui's voice. Perhaps he was bound somewhere in the darkness. Kraus, not realizing that Natsui was on the other end of the phone, repeatedly demanded that he be untied.
あんたの夫はここにいる。目も耳も塞いでるからね。話はできないけど。無事なのは分かってもらえたと思う。
何が目的ですか？夫を解放して。
明日には解放するよ。二つ約束を守ってくれればね。
何ですか？
一つはあんたの夫を僕が預かっていることを秘密にすること。屋敷ではそのうちクラウスの姿が見えないと騒ぎになるだろうけれど、母さんは何も知らないから何も口出しできない。わかるね。
わかります。
Poor Natsui, she still doesn't know that Jessica's dead yet.
もう一つの条件は
ちょっとしたゲームだ。今日の昼の1時になったら屋敷の1階の一番手前の客室に入り、クローゼットの中に隠れているんだ。
客室？どうして私がクローゼットの中などに？
ちょっとしたかくれんぼだよ。誰にも見つからずにそこで1時間隠れていることができたら。
I wonder if he's setting her up to look like the murderer.
もし誰かに見つかったら母さんの負け。
負けたらどうだというのですか？
別に何もないよ。遊びってそういうもんでしょ。このかくれんぼに付き合ってくれたら明日には夫を解放するよ。
その約束
もちろんさ。母さんこそ守ってよ。約束を破れば僕にはすぐにわかる。
Just then, there was a sudden loud knock on the door to Natsui's room. Her heart leapt automatically. Yeah, her day's about to get worse because it's probably them saying either about finding Genji's body or finding Jessica's body.
奥様いらっしゃいますか。おはようございます。
ゴーダとカノンでございます。奥様どうかお目覚めを。
The voices coming through the door were Kenan's and Goda's. The knock had been wild, and the voices a little shrill. It seemed something strange had happened, and they were agitated.
何？どうしたの？
なんでもありません。使用人が来たようです。もう切りますよ。
僕の言いたいことは全部伝えたからね。じゃあ約束破らないでよ。
わかりました。あなたこそ約束を破らないのですよ。違うね。母さんがそれを決めるんだよ。僕に約束破らせないでね。母さん。
Wait, is that Kanon's voice? What?
今日一日母さんを見てるからね。
Clack. Lambda Delta slammed the receiver down the antique phone. I mean, I know most of these games are probably just fictitious and didn't actually happen, but this one seems the most fantastical of them all. Just because, like, the introduction of these new characters and the fact that we can see from the other side of Lambda Delta actually, like, manipulating the game. I mean, we've seen Beatrice do the same thing, but it's so blatant here. Then the phone exploded into bits and changed into a spray of gold, which became a group of gold butterflies and disappeared.
踊ってちょうだいね、夏日。19年前の罪に怯えながらね。私のターンも順調よ。さあ、ベルもどうぞ。
どうせ無駄なんだろうけど、警察通報を通じて内外の通信可否を確認。
外線は使用不能。内線は使えるみたい。台風で船も使用不能。クローズドサークルの出来上がりかしら。おめでとう。これでベルンが完全に探偵に昇格ね。
Police intervention sometimes robs the detective of some of her authority. However, with the construction of the closed circle, the existence of police had been denied forever. From now on, the authority of the detective piece would be completely guaranteed.
はいはい、ありがとう。ごちそうさま。それじゃあ、早速ゲーム開始といこうかしら。
Erika, you're the main character. I've been saying this time Erika's got main character syndrome. Now begin.
源氏さんまでかよ。5人も殺されたのか。はい。
Just gonna check something really quick. I guess I was mistaken before, where I thought it's 5 people the first. Wait, where's the, oh, we don't have the epitaph. I guess it's 5 people in the first Twilight, right? I don't know why I thought that there had to be another body. Because it's 5 people. For some reason I thought it was 6.
ゲストハウスの4人と全く同じだった。すっぱりとひどく鋭利な刃物で首を切られた。
僕が深夜勤だったのに不審者に気づけないなんて。
自分を責めるんじゃねえ。もし犯人と鉢合わせだったら命を落としてたのは自分だったかもしれねえんだぞ。
その上電話も通じんときた。この天気じゃ船も来んやろ。えらいことになったで。
ということは犯人はまだ私たちの身近にいる可能性が高いということだわ。
なんですか。台風が過ぎて船が迎えに来るまで私たちは人殺しと一緒にいるというわけですか。
大丈夫ですとも。こうしてみんなで一緒にいれば犯人だって手出しは。
かもなった。そんな。私たちはみすみす殺されはしないわよ。
That was... I'm sure Natsui's been, like, she's known for at least a little bit, but that seems like such a... I don't know, like, not the kind of reaction that you'd get hearing that your daughter's been killed. Like, Ava, I feel like, is the only one who had an actual, real, genuine reaction to this.
ジョージの仇を撃ってやるわ。許さない。許さない。誰が犯人だろうと、何が理由だろうと、私はジョージの仇を許さない。殺してやるわ。殺してやる。
はい、皆さん、泣き言は十分ですか？クラウスさんはまだお見えにならないのですか？さっきから電話をおかけしているのですが、お出にならないのです。
受話器が外れていると。
いいえ、呼び出し音はします。聞こえていないはずはないのですが。
Oh, it's like Erika is just daring Natsui, like, you gotta keep your mouth shut. Can't say anything.
どういうことだ。まさかクラウスおじさんも。
やっぱりね。こんな時に不謹慎だけれども、ゲストハウスの4人に源氏さんで5人。もう一人いるだろうと予想はしてた。
Okay, alright, I was right. It is supposed to be 6, right? The first Twilight?
どうしてよ。どうしてそんなことがわかるのよ。あんたが犯人なの？あんたがジョージを殺したの？
やめなさい、エヴァさん。今はそんなことをしとる場合では。
Ava got agitated and grabbed at Kyrie. Nanjo stepped in between them, and it grew into a bit of a scuffle. Watching this, Erika smiled condescendingly and shrugged.
でしょうね。ゲストハウスの現場を拝見した時点で、6人の犠牲は読めて当然です。4人しか死体がなかったので、あとの2人は誰だろうと思っていたくらいなので。
なんでそんなことがわかるのよ。あんたが殺したの。
This episode is just gonna be Ava grabbing at random people, screaming that they're the killer.
あんたがジョージを。
許さんか、エヴァ。エリカちゃん、キリエさん、なんでそんなことがわかるんや。適当なことは言わんといてや。
簡単な連想よ。ゲストハウスの犯行現場に書かれていた落書きは魔法陣、魔法と殺人から連想するものを考えただけ。
碑文か。
そうか、第一の番か。
どういうことですか？
いえ、私にもさっぱり。
In this situation, I would be either Goda or Kumasawa, just freaking out, being like, I don't know what's happening, I don't know what's going on right now.
そういうことか。魔女め。
これはやっぱりベアトリーチェ様の仕業なの？
あんたたち何を勝手に分かった風なこと言ってるのよ。私にはさっぱり分からないわよ。説明なさいよ、誰か。
だからエヴァ、少し落ち着くんや。
そういうことです。あの犯行現場の魔法陣を見た時点で、この殺人が碑文の第一の番をなぞった見立て殺人であり、犠牲者は6人であることは想像できていました。ただ魔法陣がそこに存在するだけで、フルダエリカはこの程度の推理が可能です。いかがでしょうか、皆様方。
じゃあクラウスおじさんも殺されてるってのか。
そうだとも決めつけられません。ここに来ないのはクラウスさんだけではありません。
Kinzo, right? We're missing Kinzo.
もう一人。
For just an instant, Natsui's brow furrowed. As she feared, she wouldn't be able to avoid the topic of the study.
まさか。親父、おい、誰か書斎には連絡したんだろうな。
もちろんお電話させていただきましたし、ノックもさせていただきました。ですがそのお返事はなく。
どう
Oh, Natsui,
ご
no.
自身の研究に没頭されておいでです。
Well, there's a time to say that. Well, the body's been dead for a while, so you wouldn't be able to say, like, oh, he must have been killed by this person because I'm sure he's showing signs of rigor mortis or something, and that's why his body has to be burned to hide the time of death. So last-ditch effort, but this could be the time where maybe they could be like, the killer took Kinzo from his study.
時に電話を嫌い、受話器を外し、ノックを無視することもあります。
しかし呼び出し音はちゃんと。
とにかく主人の無事を確かめる方が先です。主人の寝室へ行きましょう。
Natsui stood up in a flurry and dashed out to the corridor. Rudolph and the others immediately chased after her, telling her to wait.
さあさあ、皆さんもご一緒に。三流ミステリーも三流スプラッターも単独行動を取る人から死にますよ。はあ、いわんやこのゲームもまたしかり。ベアトってば三流だわ。
Oh, but in third-rate disaster and action movies, it's the ones who act alone who survive, isn't it? Weird.
もはや碑文は解かれたというのに、誰が望んでこんな真似を。
ラムダデルタ教の駒と思われる19年前の男とやら。おっと、そんなはずもありませんが。
これまでのゲームですでにベアトは赤き真実で金像が消えて18人以上は存在しない、18人目は存在しないと明言しているわ。
Okay, we're back to this again about the numbers.
そして今回はそれにエリカが一人
So
加わ
that
っ
means
て19人目が存在しないと明言されてる。
So that means that whoever is calling her Natsui has to be someone that is already on the island and accounted for.
19年前の男とやらが島に入り込む余地なんてないわ。
This is information that just like slipped my mind, and I have to keep aware of that. So someone, I guess, who's really good at throwing their voices or changing their voices. It's not Battler, I know. The voice sounds so much like Battler, but it's not him.
ならば19年前の男は既存の人間の中の誰かが語っているか。さもなくば。
Not human, but I refuse to believe that. This is where they get into the witches versus humans thing, right?
赤で19人目が許されずとも、そこに19人目を紛れ込ませるなど、わらわならば魔女ならば造作もなくやってのけるがな。面白くなってきたぞ。もうしばらく様子を見させてもらうとしよう。それにしてもラムダデルタ教にベルンカステル教名、いよいよに我がゲーム版にて好き放題を始めよった。
分かっていてお招きになったのではありませんか。
退屈を嫌うわ。わらわも魔女なれば同じこと。この想定外さえも魔女なれば想定される喜びである。よかろう。受けて立とうぞ。
受けて立つのは上等だけどまずい流れよ。分かってる。
ですが様子見を気取る段階とはやや言い難いかと。
分かっておる。このまま行けば金像の存在が再び蒸し返される。書斎の結界も長くは持たんな。
それだけじゃないわ。さらに厄介な展開になるわよ。いい？1手2手3手詰めて夏日。
Gap whispered something into Beato's ear. Beato's mouth slowly widened into a crooked smile.
エリカが全員を集めたのはむしろ我らには好都合です。観測者の及ばぬ全ての闇は我ら悪魔のもの。今を逃しては打てぬ手かと。
夏日はキング。動けぬ駒なれど取らせることは許されぬ。先手を取ろう。 ここで失すると夏日が詰められる。ガープ頼めるか？
もちろん。密室トリックもアリバイもミステリーなんて私がまとめて風穴を開けてあげるわ。任せて。私が始末する。
Bye. He's just fucking disappeared. A pitch black hole opened up in the floor and swallowed up Gap, along with the chair she sat in. Then a hole opened in the ceiling and spat just the chair back out, dropping it back into its original spot.
厄介なことになりました
な。なるほどな。ラムダデルタ教にかかってはわらわすらも駒に過ぎぬというわけか。序盤は駒の損得より展開を急げという。かなわぬな、あの御人には。そうはさせぬぞ。夏日はわらわの仕える最後の主。このベアトリーチェと契約する限り決して取ることかなわぬ駒と知れ。
クラウスの部屋は空っぽ、ベッドは空っぽだったけど、それまでの5人の殺害現場と同じでおびただしい血痕が残されていたわ。
So hurt but not dead, if that's his blood. I'm assuming it is.
でも死体はない。
ないわね。
じゃあ死んでない。
ないかもね。
どういうこと？兄さんはどこにいるのよ。
この血まみれのベッドじゃな。考えたくねえが、ゲストハウスと同様に首を切られて殺されたと考えるのが妥当だろうぜ。
でしょうな。この出血量では無事を考えるのは難しい。
しかし旦那様はどちらに？
Oh, alright, we got an update. Large amounts of blood stained the bed, but there was no similar marks on the floor of the room. Alright. Well, they haven't blanked out, but, I mean... Yeah, he's blanked out, but not in red, so he's, like, missing. Went missing from his room on the second floor of the mansion. There were large amounts of blood on the bed, making the situation bear a strong resemblance to those of the other victims. He's the only victim of the first Twilight whose body was never witnessed. Whether Kraus had run to safety somewhere after being seriously wounded, or whether he'd been killed and carried somewhere, they had no clue where this somewhere was. Natsui knew. Though Kraus had been sounding far from his best over the phone, he at least hadn't sounded like he was on the brink of death. In other words, these bloodstains had to be a ruse, but if we know that this person is good at imitating voices, maybe they were just imitating Kraus's voice. Maybe he's already dead, we just don't know it yet. That might not even be blood. Just what is that man thinking? What is all this for?
なんてこって第一の晩に6人を生贄にっちゅうのか。
クラウス兄さんには自分の部屋の扉を施錠する習慣はないの？私たちは今鍵を開けずに入ったわ。
いえ、旦那様にも
Which means it's someone with a key.
当家では公共の場所以外は施錠が義務付けられております。
So this is Natsui's fault that we have so many locked room situations. Damn you, Natsui.
クラウスおじさんの部屋を開けられる鍵は何本あるんだ？
旦那様がお持ちの1本の他にマスターキーが。ああ、鍵がどうこうなんてくだらない論争です。
Erika's like, I'm gonna blow right through this.
源氏さんがすでに犠牲になっていることをお忘れです。
Ah, so he took his key.
彼のマスターキーは紛失しています。ですから今やこの屋敷のすべての鍵は意味をなしません。つまらないですね。つまりこの屋敷には密室殺人は今までもこれからも存在しないということです。
We have one game with no locked rooms.
やれやれ、退屈なミステリーになりました。
I know Erika probably likes them. I'm not a fan myself. Erika laughed off this murder in disappointment, as though it was something she was watching on TV. I can't understand her. Why is her world so different from ours? It's almost like she's a being from another dimension.
ジェシカもこんな風にベッドで。
ええ、そうよ。ジョージと同じに首を切られて。
ジェシカに合わせて。
There we go. There's more reaction. I guess she hasn't seen the body yet, so it almost doesn't seem real because she hasn't seen her.
私、ジェシカの顔さえ見てないんです。ジェシカ。
待ちんや、ナスイさん。
まだ犯人が近くに潜んでいるかもしれない。一人にさせるのは危険だ。
Natsui flew out of the room and dashed towards the guest house. So Natsui could be like the Pied Piper. She just has to keep running around and leading people away from the study. It was only natural. After all, she still hadn't seen Jessica's last face. Everyone probably thought that was the reason. Of course, that was at least half of what was on Natsui's mind. She's trying to guide people away from Kinso study. The other half was her desire to shift their attention away from the study. Smart Natsui. And it seems completely reasonable from her point of view. Strange crimes had occurred. The gold had been discovered. And some relatives had even recommended Badler to be the next head. Even in these twisted circumstances, she had to protect Kinso's secret. Ah, my head. If it should split from this pain. Let it burst this very moment. Burst open like a balsam flower. Then I won't have to suffer any longer.
では皆さん、夏日さんのためにも一度ゲストハウスへ戻りましょうか。死に顔を見たって何かが進展するわけではありませんが。
お前には心ってもんがねえのか。
I'm surprised Erika hasn't made a snide remark about Jessica yet, considering that she did not seem to like Jessica very much.
心？何ですか？
Seeing her daughter's dead face wouldn't bring Jessica back to life, nor would it heal Natsui's anguish. On the contrary, she would probably wail, wasting a considerable amount of time before being able to think properly again. That probably sums up Erika's screwed-up argument. Seeing her dead face won't advance the story?
進展するのよね、それが。
Oh, I wonder if the bodies will be gone when they come back.
ベアトの駒たちが面白い変化をもたらしてくれたわ。
We've had bodies disappear before.
これは。
Natsui flew into the cousin's room on the upper floor of the guest house, and was struck dumb by the blood-stained beds and the eerie magic circle, which looked like it might have been drawn with the victim's blood.
Jessica.
Yes! I can't believe it! I called it!
Jessica はどこです？ Jessica!
そこのベッドに。
ベッド？どこに？
ジョージはどこなの？
おいおい、こりゃどういうわけだ。
この部屋はちゃんと施錠していきましたよね。これで犯人がマスターキーを持つことが確実となりました。またしても私の推理通り。
そんなことはどうでもいい。どこに行ったんだ。みんなのジョージの兄貴たちの遺体はどこに行ったんだ。
面白い真似を。
さあさあ、ほらほら魔法よ。ベアトのとこのカープが魔法で死体をどこかへ隠しちゃったわ。
私たちは全員で一緒に行動していた。だから全員にアリバイがあると。
Okay.
あなたの推理はこうでしょ。実は4人は死んでなくて死んだふりだった。それでみんながいない間にどこかへ身を潜めた。正解かしら。
誰の死亡宣言をも赤では出す気ないんでしょ。
So assuming that they did fake their deaths, someone was a really good makeup artist or special effects, and Nanjo would have to be in on it to say that they were dead when they weren't.
当然よ。ベアトのパー
と違って私は緑に赤をサービスしたりしないわ。
なら喜んで青き真実を使わせてもらうわ。この程度のこと、いくらでも抜け道は思いつくもの。はい
はい、どうぞ。青き真実タイム。
まず考えられる一つ目、実は犠牲者は死んでいなかった。死んだふりをしていてこっそりどこかに隠れたのよ。何しろあんたは誰の死亡についても赤き真実で宣言してないものね。
I wonder if somehow this guy told the other people who supposedly died to do the same thing, because he's told Natsui to go hide for an hour, or if she wouldn't be found in an hour then she wins, and if she is found she loses. So maybe these people are doing the same thing. Maybe they're not actually dead and they're hiding themselves away because someone told them to.
たとえ傷口ばっかり見せられちゃっても赤くなきゃそうくるわよね。基本よね。でもダメよ、赤き真実なんてサービスしないわよ。何しろゲームの最後10月5日24時にちょいと1箇所否定すればいいんだもんね。ああ、魔女側は有利だわ。バカバトラならこれで終わるところでしょうけど、ベルンは違うわよね。
当然よ。こんなのは誰もが思いつくくだらない一手。まだ続けるわよ。二つ目、遺体はクラウスが運んで隠した。
Okay.
クラウスはあんたがさらってどこかに監禁されてるように演出されてるけど、実際はフリーなのかもしれない。
So this is maybe Krause's way of throwing heat off of the Kinzo thing, and maybe also taking out people who might fight him on the headship.
クラウスにアリバイはないわ。クラウスが彼らの死体を隠したのよ。
But if the culprit is the same in all the games, I don't think that's true. I don't know. But we could have a situation like an Ava situation where it could be multiple people who are killing, at the same time, concurrently. That's the word I'm thinking of.
ああ、そうよね。赤き真実でクラウスの監禁を宣言したわけじゃないものね。言うもんね、敵を騙すには味方から。夏日に自分が囚われてるように嘘をついたっと。他には
3つ目、そもそも死体が別人。
Different people? What?
犠牲者そっくりの身代わり死体よ。ジョージたちは最初から隠れていて、その後に身代わり死体を片付けた。
So that would imply that they had corpses waiting to be used, which seems a little unbelievable. Like that looked just like them.
死体は最初から死んでるから、島の人数にはカウントされない。何
それ、超イカす。つまりあれだけの人間が寄ってたかって死に顔を見て、全員が全員身代わりの死体を見抜けなかったと。
That sounds like a Badler hypothesis.
赤き真実をあんたが行使しない以上、全員が全員遺体の身元確認を誤認した可能性だってあるわ。あんたに誰も人物を誤認しないって復唱要求に応える気があるなら直ちに引っ込めるけど。
嫌ですよーだ。そんな挑発には乗らないわよ。赤き真実はね、もったいぶるから効果的なのよ。たくさんの青き真実の中からたった一つだけを選び赤で叩き切る。そしてその他全ての青き真実はそれが正しかったのかどうかも明かされないまま闇に葬られて消える。その闇こそ魔女の世界。あんたに与えられる真実なんて何も存在しない。
この子バカそうなふりしてなかなかだわ。決して挑発に乗りやしない。魔女の闇ってもんが何か本当のゲームマスターのベアトよりよっぽど理解してるじゃない。そしてどうやらガープもそれをよく理解してるみたい。この死体消失の一手、ラムダとベアトの双方にとってなかなか有効だわ。とりあえず 私も死体消失について思いつく仮説を3つほど挙げてみた。1つの謎に対し3つの青きくさび。だから3つのうち1つを否定すればいいわけじゃない。3つのくさびを全て抜かない限りこの謎は貫かれてる。それが魔女狩りの鉄則。くさびは1本じゃ全然足りない。
So she does like my thing where it's just you just throw out a whole bunch of theories, a whole bunch of ideas, and one of them might be right. You just throw so much bullshit out, the other side has to try and refute them all. You just keep them on their toes.
くさび1本で死んでくれるのは吸血鬼程度。魔女に比べりゃ吸血鬼なんて貧弱なもんよ。本物の魔女はね、くさびでめった刺しにしなきゃ死なないのよ。殺し屋だってそうでしょ。
Kind of like Beatrice at the end of the last chapter being stabbed with all the stakes. Like you can't just get her with one.
殺し屋が綺麗に一発の弾丸だけで相手を殺すなんて日本の漫画の中だけよ。本当の殺し屋なら弾倉が空になるまで全弾ぶち込むわ。あんただってそうするでしょ。無論私もよ。でもこんなのこの子のことだから赤一つで一刀両断にしてくるでしょうね。彼らの死亡宣言とクラウスの無実、この辺をちょいちょいっと赤で語るだけで私のくさびは3本とも抜けてしまう。まあそれでいいんだけどね。赤き真実が出てきたらそれに合わせて再び青きくさびでめった刺しにしてやるだけのこと。それが魔女のゲームの進め方。ああ楽しい。バトラのまどろっこしい戦いにずっとイライラしてきたから本当に楽しい。ええ分かってるわラムダ。こんなの第一の番の最初の最初。前哨戦でしょ。そうでなくっちゃ。あんたをボロボロに負けさせて悔し泣きさせて床を這いつくばらせてかきむしらせてその可愛らしい髪の毛を掴んで床になすりつけながら笑い転げる楽しみが薄れちゃうもの。
The servants' quarters in the mansion had once again gone silent. There lay Genji's body, which had been covered completely with a blanket. In the ceiling of this cramped room, a pitch-black hole appeared. Captivating legs sprouted out, and a gap floated downwards.
ごめんね、源氏。そこでゆっくり永眠してたいだろうけど、そういうわけにはいかない。後宮家の最後の当主、夏日に死してなお奉公するために。ここから消えてちょうだい。
Gap stripped off the blanket as she said this to Genji, who was sleeping peacefully. Then she stared at the deep wound in his neck.
見事な切り口じゃない？まさに一刀で切ったのね。こんな真似ができるやつが権限しているの。
They were saying before, an assassin in real life, there's no like one perfect like strike and then they die. But in this case, this person seems to have done it pretty effectively. Like one slice killed 3 people. Well, more than 3 people.
いやね、これが可能な心当たりのあるやつにろくなやつがいないわ。
It goes without saying, but witches are capable of summoning beings with a strength proportional to their own rank. The great Lady Lambda Delta called that being here as a trump card 19th person. Even optimistically speaking, this is on par with Ronave and me. A pitch-black hole opened up in the bed, and Genji disappeared as though the bed had swallowed him up. Just like the 4 in the guest house, Genji's corpse was hidden in some unknown place. It was a place that no one could find, located neither within this world nor the next. No longer would anyone be able to find their bodies. So on the human side, we have to figure out where those corpses went. No longer would anyone be able to confirm their deaths. Genji's body was carried to that place of endless silence, where it would never be disturbed.
死体がなければ行方不明。
Like they're gonna be doing with Kinzo soon, I imagine.
行方不明扱いとは犯人と疑われ同時に犠牲者とも疑われる。開かれることの決してない猫箱の中の暗闇こそ我ら悪魔と魔女の住処。言って遅かったわね、名探偵さん。
Gap licked her lips and swallowed.
どうしてガープ様は死体を隠して回るのかしら。
知らない。でもガープ様ってなんかかっこいいよね。なんていうのか惚れるわ。
バカ言ってんじゃないわよ。見張りはどうしたの？人間たちがゲストハウスから戻ってくるわよ。ガープ様。
ええ、退散するわよ。これでなんとか夏日に逃げ道を作れたはず。
Gap jumped into a pitch black hole which had opened near her feet. Memon shouted, "I'm going in too," and jumped in, followed by Osmo, who said, me too, and hopped in giggling. Oh, we don't get the thing of Gap just suddenly, like, just her little sprite just disappearing off screen. I love that. I don't know why I find that so funny. As Satan hesitated over what to do, the hole closed.
煉獄の七姉妹ともあろうものが子供みたい。バカみたい。
Satan went bright red and got angry all by herself, then turned into gold butterflies and disappeared.
ガープが5人の死体を無事に移動させたようです。
ご苦労であった。しかし次が厄介であるぞ。
現時の死体の消失に多少は驚くでしょうが、彼らの次の関心は再び金蔵の書斎に向くでしょう。
書斎の鍵は2本。夏日が全て所持していて幸運であったな。もし現時に1本を預けたままであったなら、それは今頃ラムダデルタ教の手に落ちていたであろ
う。どうやらラムダデルタ教は金蔵の死を隠すつもりはさらさらないようですな。お嬢様が築き上げてきた堀も塔も城壁も全て見捨てて戦われるつもりのようだ。
Wouldn't that would look bad from Natsui's point of view, right? If she has both the keys, then she would be the only one who'd be able to get into the study. So we can't even blame it on the person having a master key and going into the study and killing Kinzo.
おかしな三角対決になったものよ。我らはそれぞれが敵であり、時に意図せずして連携しておる。三つどもえが2対1になったかと思えば、逆に1対2にもなる。ほらあれだ。中国のバトルロイヤル、三国志とやらに似てるとは思わんか？
天下三分の計ですな。お嬢様にしては随分と高尚な例えですよ。
三国志って3つ国があったではないか。義と呉と蜀だったか？まるでわらわたちであるな。はて、最後に勝ったのはどの国であったか？
Now we're getting a little history lesson too.
最後に統一したのは秦です。お嬢様のおっしゃられる三国はすべて滅びました。
ほう、これは知らなかった。てっきり三国のどれかが勝者になったとばかり。義が圧倒的に優勢だったのではないか？
帝位を腹心に奪われ、国を乗っ取られて滅びました。
Is this a hint that they're the empires that are fighting against each other, the witches and the human, but maybe a completely different side is going to end up coming out on top? I feel like they're going into detail in this, so like this has to be important, right? The Sima clan, a noble family that, is it Chow Chow or Cao Cao? Invited in as advisors, eventually gained central control in a power struggle and took over the country.
参謀として招き、乗っ取られるか。面白いぞ。
ラムダデルタ共鳴。
失礼いたします。人間たちは使用人控室にて現時の死体消失を確認。ゴールドスミス卿の書斎に移動を開始しました。
リーチェ、来るわよ。
来るがいい。人間どもに絶対と奇跡の魔女どもね。
If this is a three-way fight, then the three sides are the human, the witches, and what are we? The object of our protection is Kinzo's illusion.
我らは幻か。
Alright, this will be interesting. I want to see how this whole thing with the study, how does this go? I imagine Ava's gonna get real pissed.
お父様、夏日です。おはようございます。
そんなので起きるわけないでしょ。
Oh my gosh, Ava's already screaming. Oh my... Of course she is.
お父様、エヴァです。起きてください。大変です。
Ava pushed Natsui aside and knocked repeatedly with all her strength.
お静かに。想像しいにも程があります。
今はそんなこと言ってる場合じゃないでしょ。
電話にも出ず、ノックしても音沙汰はなしですか。参りましたね。
機嫌をまた損ねられているのかもしれませんな。金蔵さんは時にほんのわずかの変化であってもそれに吉凶を感じ、本人以外には預かり知れぬ理由で機嫌を損ねたりします。
そうですわね。こういうのは何も今日だけに限ったことじゃありませんものね。
じい様ってそこまで書斎に閉じこもってんのか？
はい、1ヶ月以上も書斎を出られないことも珍しくはありませんので。
ここだけの話、勤めている私でさえ時親方様がいらっしゃられることを忘れることがあります。
Poor Goda, he's like the uncool kid who's not part of the group. He's the only one who doesn't know what's going on.
ゴーダ、使用人にあるまじき発言ですよ。
失礼しました奥様。誠に失礼しました。
とにかく連絡が取れるのはまずいんとちゃうか。
Natsui's like, this is why you aren't part of the group.
下手したらお父さん事件が起こってることさえ知らんのやでな
あ。さあどうでしょう。
Keenly noticing that people were starting to doubt Kinzo's existence, Kanon mumbled his words.
最後にお父様に会ったのは誰？いつ？
私です。昨夜バトラ君が黄金を見つけたと騒ぎになる直前までお父様の書斎で一日の報告をしておりました。
昨夜の23時頃ですね。
And once again, Natsui has both the keys to the study. It's gonna look not great from her perspective. She's the last one to see him. She's the only one who can get in and out of the study.
やむを得ねえ。ここを開こう。
なんですって？ここは当主様の大切な書斎であり研究室です。許可なく犯すなど誰にも許されませんよ。
ここにいる最高序列者は誰？
Oh, Badler.
私よ。
Or Ava?
後
No.
ろ宮家序列第3位のこの私。もし開けてお父様にお叱りを受けるなら、それもまた最高序列者の役割よ。緊急事態につきここを開けるわ。鍵あるんでしょ？開けなさい。
ご存知とは思いますが、書斎の扉はマスターキーでは開きません。
最近は源氏様からも鍵をお取り上げになられ、2本の鍵は全て親方様がご自身でお
Ah,
持ちになっ
good
ておられ
save.
ました。
Good save, you two.
ですので
この扉を開ける2本の鍵が全て書斎の内側にあるってわけか。
密室。
And she's like, finally, it gets interesting.
やっと少し面白くなりました。これで書斎の中で金蔵さんがベッドで首を切られて死んでいたら
That would be pretty neat.
なかなか面白いですね。
不謹慎が過ぎますよエリカさん。とにかくお分かりの通り、この扉はお父様が持つ鍵でしか開きません。つまり外からお父様に接触することは殺人犯であっても不可能ということです。ですから当主様が無事であるのは間違いありません。
だからってお父様の安否を確かめなくていいって論法にはならないでしょ。あなた尊敬するお父様の無事をそんなに確かめたくないの？
そういうわけでは。
The atmosphere, which had been so agitated a second ago, suddenly went cold, and an eerie feeling filled the room as everyone stared at Natsui. They could understand why Natsui would protect the study under normal circumstances. It was understood she probably didn't want to disturb the research of Kinzo, whom she respected, and she was therefore trying to keep the unpleasant relatives away. However, this was an emergency. People had been murdered. Natsui's persistence in keeping things quiet for Kinzo, even in a situation like this, was hard to understand from a rational perspective.
今、この島で起こっている殺人事件は、おそらく非分をなぞる見立て殺人になると思われます。
Erika's gonna say like there's got to be 6 murders. Well, we don't know what happened to Kraus yet, so he could be the 6th person, but it could also be Kinzo.
事件は続くものと考えるのが妥当でしょう。
Wait, hold on. I keep forgetting. So, sorry. Rosa, Maria, Jessica, George. Oh, yes, that's right. I think they assumed Kraus was the 5th murder. So, they're thinking it could be Kraus because they saw the blood in his room, but it could also be Kinzo as well.
あの碑文を見立て殺人だとして見直すなら、さらに事件は続き、合計で13人の命が奪われる計算になります。13人という犠牲者がどれほどの人数かご存知ですか？
おいおい、この島に何人いると思ってんだ。そのほとんどってことじゃねえか。
のんのん、違います。私の知る限りミステリー誌で最も死者が出る連続殺人は、犯人も含めて全員が死亡したイギリスの某作品の10人です。日本ミステリー界では先生術師が探偵役を務めたあの作品かと。まあこっちは10人未満ですが。知ってました？
She's gonna be like, I'm gonna be part of the biggest murder spree in a mystery ever. This is awesome.
このまま13人死ぬと世界ミステリー史で最悪の快挙、最高の名誉。
And she's like, and I get to be the detective of the story because I'm main character Erika.
13人連続殺人事件が完成するんですよ。それどころかもしこの島の全員を殺してしまったら、なんと世界最高の連続殺人ミステリーと日本最高の連続殺人ミステリーを足したよりも多い歴史的快挙の連続殺人ミステリーが起こってしまうことになるかも。ねえ、知ってました？皆さん。この事件の犯人、全世界全歴史のミステリーを塗り替えかねないとんでもない挑戦をしてるんですよ。もちろんそんなの皆様方はとっくに気づいてましたよね。推理好きならミステリーの女王の作品は必読。さらに日本人なら新本格ミステリーくらいは読破してて当然ですから。
Alright, let's take a look at that. So that's a tip. Alright, so Shin Honkaku, a genre of Japanese mystery novels intended as pure logical puzzles to be solved by the reader, taking inspiration from the works of Golden Age detective fiction and the ideas of S.S. Van Dyne. The rise of the New Orthodox movement, which revived and revolutionized the genre of orthodox detective fiction in Japan, can be attributed to Shimada Suju's The Tokyo Zodiac Murderers in 1981 and Ayatsuji Yukito's seminal work, The Decagon House Murders in 1987. Shin Hongaku is the third wave of detective fiction in Japan, preceded decades earlier by less well-known works such as The Case of the Murderer on D Hill and The Non-Serial Murder Case. The latter was part of an earlier movement known as Shin Gesaku New Burlesque, which bucked the trends of pre-war Japanese literature.
皆さん、本当に読書足りてます？
ダメだな。
No goddamn good at all.
ならお前もまだ読書が足りてねえぜ。
何か私間違いを言いました？
I love he's standing up to her. Erika, who'd been chatting away happily all by herself up until a second ago, changed her expression to a displeased glare at it. It's just like, you ruined my monologue.
日本ミステリー界の話だが、新本格よりも先に新下作派の一人が別の作品を書き上げているぜ。
Oh, look at Badler. I know that they did say he was interested in, like, detective stuff, but still. Wow, look at that. He knew more than she did.
人数同じじゃないですか。
記録はタイでも読者に犯人探しをさせた作品だってことに注目すれば、こっちの方がよほど的確な例えだ。あんたくらい博識なら単なる死体の数だけじゃなく作品の傾向を照らし合わせてあげるべきじゃなかったのかい？
Oh, that's a face I don't think we're going to see from her very much. She actually seems defeated. Erika glared at Badler with an expression that couldn't be fully described with the word shock, and her arms shook as she stood there, lost for words. Yeah, I guess Badler would know that because Lambda's, like, speaking through him. She's like, I'm gonna make Badler not stupid in this one.
仕方ないわよね。新本格の方がミステリーとしての知名度は高いもんね。新下作派の中に推理物があったなんてうっかり見落としちゃうわよね。
Lambda Delta kept on hitting the table with both hands, overcome with laughter. Even Bernkastel, who had been enduring the humiliation, suddenly snorted and started panting at the table and laughing in the same way.
面白い面白い。やるじゃない、バトラーのコマ。
尊敬します。バトラさんって結構読んでますね。
Oh, it just sounds like she's saying that through gritted teeth.
本読まねえよ、全然な。
嘘ばっかり。かなり博識じゃないですか。
本を読んでるなんてご大層なこと俺にはとても言えやしねえぜ。本を読んでるってのはな、年にほんの100冊も読まないようなやつがうかつに口にしていいことじゃねえんだぜ。
コマの文才って。
It's funny, unlike Erika, who's so, like, such a braggart, where, like, Badler's being so humble. Where he's just like, yeah, I'm not much of a reader, but even I knew more than you did.
とにかくやな、そんな大事件に発展させるわけにはいかんで。
そうだな。とにかく今は親父の安否を確認するのが最優先だ。しかしどうする。電話もノックも無視、鍵は内側。これじゃお手上げだ。この分厚い扉をぶち破るのか。そいつは難儀な話だぜ。
ひょっとするとお父様は何者かに襲われて大怪我をしていて、誰かの助けを待っているのかもしれない。この非常時だもの。お父様だって分かってくださるわ。それで叱責があるようなら私が甘んじて受けようじゃない。しかし扉を破るなどあまりに無礼だ。
No, Natsui, you're not helping your case.
窓は？
そうです。窓です。3階の窓まで届くはしごか何かはありませんか？窓を破れば中に入れるはずです。
Erika finally gathered herself together, and her tone regained its decisive edge.
3階の窓なんて危険でございますよ。
やってみなけりゃわからねえさ。3階まで届くはしごはねえのか。
園芸倉庫のはしごにはそこまでの長さはないかと。
ああ、なら
Oh,
扉室の
Goda.
はしごはどうですか？
Oh, Goda. Natsui's like Goda, you are so fucking fired, man.
以前雨どいの上に鳥が巣を作った時、それを使った覚えが。ええ、あれなら届きますとも間違いありません。
Poor Goda, he's just trying to be helpful, and Natsui's gonna be so pissed at him. He must have been extremely happy about thinking of something Kanon hadn't, looking pleased with himself as though he'd won something. He glanced around at everyone. He was probably hoping Natsui would praise him, but she quickly avoided his gaze. Of course, Kanon had known about that ladder too. However, in order to protect Kinzo's secret, he had intentionally pretended to have forgotten.
この天気ですし、風も強いです。いくらなんでも危険では。
同感だ。大怪我をしても明日までは病院にも行けないのですぞ。
中庭なら風の影響が少ないかもしれないわ。とりあえず様子を見てみる価値はあると思うけど。
いやー、しかし3階までとなるとなかなかにこれが大変。鳥の巣の片付けの時もほとんどの使用人たちが尻込みしてしまい。
Goda's gonna be like, but I will do it because I'm a hero.
それをこの不祥ゴーダが大役を買って出て見事に果たしたのです。
Maybe Natsui will accidentally knock the ladder over while he's on top of it.
よし、何の問題もないで。何しろ届くはしごに
実績のある人間もいるんだし。
はい。
Because the courtyard was surrounded on all four sides, while the rain was fierce, the winds had almost no effect. Fortunately, the roof jutted out a bit, so even the rain wasn't so bad.
よし、はしごを立てかけてみるか。気をつけろよ。怪我すんなよ。
おう。
Rudolph and Badler carried the special ladder, which was designed for work on high places. Two umbrellas followed the pair. Shannon and Cannon were holding umbrellas and sheltering Rudolph and Badler from the rain.
俺たちは濡れても平気だぜ。ひさしの下に戻ってな。ゴーダさん、膝の調子は悪くてもはしごクレイは抑えられるだろ。
はいはいはい。ヒアルロン酸さえ十分ならはしごもスルスルなのですが、いや本当に申し訳ない。
Goda rushed up to replace Shannon and Cannon. Kyria giggled as she watched him.
親父、金槌。
おう、マトラ。お前、アスレチックは好きか？
アスレチックより日曜大工を頑張るかっこいい親父が好きだぜ。
こいつやれやれ。たまには息子の前でいいとこ見せてみるか。
Well, at least we're having a little bit of levity during this.
マトラ、ゴーダさん、はしごしっかり押さえててくれよ。あとちゃんと上を見てろよ。俺が手を滑らせてこの金槌を落っことしちまうかもしれねえからね。
安心しろよ。キャッチして親父の頭をかち割ってやるぜ。
Rudolph put the hammer meant for breaking the window into his pocket. Then, after cracking his knuckles, he started climbing the ladder.
ルドルフ様、大丈夫でしょうか？
大丈夫よ。あの人アクション映画向きだし、それにスポーツだって得意なんだから。
得意のスケートがはしご登りにどう役立つか聞かせてほしいぜ。俺はイナバウアー、常に大ピンチとくら。
なんだかんだ死なないから
He
大丈
never
夫。
dies, so he'll be fine. Let's see this. Ina Bauer never dies. Ina Bauer was a champion German figure skater whose name was associated with the move in figure skating that became famous in Japan. However, the reference goes deeper than this. Rudolph's voice actor, Koyama Rikaka. Are you serious? Oh shit. What was the Japanese dub voice for Jack Bauer in the TV series 24. He Never Dies is a reference to one of the numbers of comedic Japanese TV commercials for 24, in which Koyama Rikia sings, "I am Jack Bauer, always in danger. I am Jack Bauer, I never die." I loved 24 when it came out, and that kind of makes me want to watch the dub now, just to hear his voice. That's amazing. And the idea of this commercial, I want to see this commercial now. Because it's true, Jack Bauer never dies.
それより鎧戸が降りてなくて幸運だったわ。
But in this game, he dies a whole lot.
お父様の書斎では夜鎧戸を下ろす習慣はないの？
いえ、お部屋に入ることが許されている時には朝と夜に開け閉めをいたします。
ただここしばらくは不要とのことでしたので開けっぱなしになっていたと思います。
なるほど。お父様はお怒りになるわよね。お休み中に息子が窓を割って入ってきたら。
それはおそらく
窓を割らずに済むといいわね。
Oh, is Kyrie being like, is she saying, I know that you know something, so why don't you just tell me what it is and we don't have to go through with it? She's so sharp. Both Shannon and Kanon knew that Kinzo no longer existed in this world. Natsui had ordered them to interfere as much as possible. But now that it had come to this, there was nothing the two of them could do. They had tried to interfere by pretending they didn't know about the ladder that could reach up to the third floor window. Like, Kyrie knows that Shannon and Kanon, they must have known about that ladder. She knows that they're hiding the truth. But because of Goto's showing off, the ladder had been found. Rudolph carefully climbed the ladder. He would reach the third floor window very soon. As he did this, Shannon and Kanon stared at him, looking uneasy. What would happen after this? To the two of them? To Madame? To the Master? I wonder, yeah, Kyrie's like, I will throw you a Hail Mary, like, I'll throw you a rope. If you tell us what you know, maybe we'll help you out. Very soon Rudolph would reach the window.
この部屋の結界ももはやこれまでか。
城壁を乗り越えようと兵がよじ登ってくるぞ。まさに落城は目前というところよ。私にいつでも消え去る覚悟はできておるぞ。
そうはいかぬ。泥をすすってでも生き延びてもらわねばならぬでな。後のことは考える。今はここを逃れよ。
とはいえどうしたものか。廊下には未だエヴァたちが陣取り、窓にはルドルフが迫っている。扉にも窓にも退路はないぞ。
ならばベッドの下に隠れ潜むもありかと。
私には玉座にて待ち受けることさえ許されぬか。
そなたの人生ならばそれも潔し。しかし今のそなたはわらわと夏日に生かされる亡霊よ。亡霊は亡霊らしく、ベッドの下かクローゼットに潜むと相場が決まっておるわ。
その程度のことで奴らの目を欺けるのか。やれやれ。
大丈夫、私がついてるわ。最後の瞬間には私があんたを脱出させる。
危険だぞ。悪魔とて反魔法の毒素に焼かれればただでは済むまい。
大丈夫よ。それに私そのくらいヤバくないとドキドキしないのよ。
頼もしいではない。分かった。私はベッドの下に隠れよ
う。お嬢様、ルドルフがもうじき窓。
が気が変わった。わらわがここを守る。そなたはロノウェと身を隠せ。
なんですって。
Okay, what's going on here?
話が違います。ここはガープに任せ、お嬢様は非難されることになっていたはずです。
Even though Ronove should have been used to her fickleness, this surprised him for the first time in a long while. Though Beato was the powerful queen, she was also an important piece that should not be exposed to danger. Though she was strong, running to the front lines without any plan would not be a praiseworthy move.
何の気まぐれ？
ただの気まぐれだ。 そなたに任せて紅茶をすすってられるほどわらわは退屈を愛してはおらぬのでな。早速暴れてみたくなっただけだ。
わかったわ。あなたのゲームだもの。あなたの好きにするといいわ。私は消した第一の番の死体が暴かれることがないようしっかり見張っていることにする。
すまぬな、そなたの見せ場を奪って。
よろしいのですか、お嬢様。
わらわは目立つのが三度の飯より好きであることはそなたも知っておろうが、ガープの出番も食ってしまっただけだ。気にするでない。
Ronove and Gap were both silent. The two of them had already noticed. Lady Berncastel, who used Furdo Erika as a piece, was a terrifying opponent. This fight would probably be terrifying as well. Beato couldn't expose Gap, her friend, to this danger. Beato bluffed and said that this wasn't the case, but Ronove and Gap had already figured it out. Therefore, after confirming Beato's resolve one last time and seeing she was completely firm in her decision, they nodded in silence and accepted it.
わかったわ。この場はあなたに任す。応援してるわ。気をつけて。
わらわの活躍を存分に見守るがよかろ
う。おそらくベルンカステル卿は金蔵の不在を密室議論からカンパしてくるでしょう。密室での戦いは本来ガープの方が得意とします。クイーンは広い場所で戦ってこその支配者です。楽な戦いにはなりませんぞ。
百も承知。わらわは今夏日に仕えておるの。その夏日の危機をガープに任せて高みの見物ではわらわの筋も通らぬわ。
かしこまりました、ご武運。
気をつけて。完全に密室にされたら私たちも助けに入れないのよ。
ちょいと鼻であしらい、やばくなったら金蔵をひっつかんで逃げ出すだけだ。簡単なものよ。扉に窓に過去に未来にいくらでも逃げ出す場所はあるわ。密室になどさせるものか。
姿はなくともすぐ近くで応援してるわ。頑張って。
Gap and Ronove became a swarm of gold butterflies and disappeared, and Kinzo melted into the darkness beneath the bed. Then Beato also became a swarm of gold butterflies and melted away inside the study. After that, all figures and signs of life had disappeared from the study, and it once more regained a silence as though no one had been there from the beginning. Then, Rudolph's outline slipped into view from beyond the window's curtain.
親父、いるなら返事をしてくれ。親父!
As he yelled, he hit the window. His foothold was so uncertain that just hitting the window felt life-threatening. But of course, this was Rudolph, the show-off. Deciding he couldn't show himself up with so many people watching from below, he suppressed the fear from being so high up, and boldly knocked on the window.
じいさまめ、聞こえてねえのか。
どうでしょう。金槌を落とさないでくれると嬉しいのですが。
何秒経った？
窓を叩いてから今30秒経ちました。
やっぱり割るのですか？その親方様が大層お怒りに。
その怒りを受けるのは自分の役目と豪語してくださる方がいるから大丈夫よ。ルドルフさん、十分よ。やって。
おう、親父め、割った後で文句言うんじゃねえぜ。
He hit it several times, and eventually a fist-sized hole opened up in the glass. Because of his unstable footing, this took a lot of effort. Using the end of the hammer skillfully, he brushed aside the now fractured bits of glass and opened the hole further. He stuck his hand through it and unlocked the window. Then, after a hard struggle, he somehow managed to open the window, and his body slipped through into the study. After that, he flopped onto the floor, using his entire body to enjoy the relief of having a ground underneath him.
親父、ルドルフだ。返事をしてくれ。
It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say Kinzo's study was a small villa he'd created inside the mansion. A study, a book archive, a place to sleep, and a bathroom and washroom. It was divided into multiple rooms. Indeed, with all this at your fingertips, it wouldn't be hard to spend your days in the study without ever leaving at all. The bed was empty. There were marks on it which made it seem as though someone had slipped out, but there was no one in sight.
忍者映画だとよくこうするよね。布団がまだ暖かい。遠くには行ってないはずだ。ってね。
Rudolph tried placing his hand on the bed, but he couldn't feel any heat at all. Not only was there no heat, it felt completely ice cold. And the bed wasn't the only thing that was ice cold. The air inside the room, and even the presence about it, if that's the right word for it, even that felt ice cold. Probably because they were preserving his body in here. To Rudolph, it felt as though Kinzo had slipped out of this room a long time ago.
しかし、清掃は行き届いてるぜ。生活の痕跡はある。
Wrinkles in the bed, a slight angle of the chair. Here and there were many marks that would doubtlessly have been cleaned or fixed if someone had come in to make the beds.
親父が寝床を抜け出したのは、でたらめに見積もって数時間以上前ってことなのか。
That placed it in the same general time period as the brutal series of murders. It didn't seem possible to say Kinzo's absence was completely unrelated to the crime. Having reached a dead end for now, Rudolph leaned out the window and told Kiri and the others in the courtyard to come back up since he was going to unlock the door. Then he pushed the button on the study desk and released the door's auto-lock. There was a heavy clunking sound, and Natsui and the rest dashed in immediately.
お父様、おはようございます。
親父じゃなくて悪いな。開けたのは俺だ。
金蔵さんはいらっしゃいましたか？
いいや。
And Ava's gonna go in on Natsui, I bet.
ベッドを抜け出した後はあったが、いつ頃抜け出したのかもはっきりしねえ。
最後に会ったのは夏日姉さんよね。昨夜の11時頃。それ以降に書斎を抜け出してどこかへ行ってしまったということなのかしら。
でもお父様は気まぐれな方。唐突に夢で啓示を受けたと言い出して深夜に起き出してお屋敷の中を歩き回るようなこともよくありました。そうですよね、南條先生。
確かにそういうこともありましたな。とにかくその気まぐれな方だ。なあ熊沢さん。
そうですわね。何かおかしな夢でも見て寝床を抜け出したのかもしれませんね。
Kumasawa was definitely the better liar.
よくあることでございますとも。ええ。
じゃあ抜け出してどこに行ったっちゅうんや。お父さんひょっとして事件に巻き込まれた可能性も高いんとちゃうんか。
ほらね、お父様の安否を確かめるべきだったでしょ。この部屋にいないとは限らないわ。ひょっとすると犯人に縛られてクローゼットの中に閉じ込められているということもあるかもしれない。
ですね。探しましょう。
当主様の大切な書斎ですよ。
Oh, I wonder if the body's still in here somewhere. Ooh, that would be awkward.
みだりに物に触れないように。
ああ、そうだ。犯人さんに申し上げておきます。
Ooh, guilty party. When Natsui heard this said from right in front of her, her heart froze. But Erika had only just happened to be standing right in front of Natsui when she said it. She had directed her words to the room at large. She hadn't been speaking to Natsui in particular. What's that short story, The Telltale Heart, where it's like she's Natsui because she feels like guilty or she knows the truth. She's just gonna get more and more paranoid and she's probably gonna start slipping up. Natsui turned her back on Erika, trying to make it so her faltering expression wasn't noticed.
私、記憶力は写真並みですので、何かの証拠を隠蔽しようとして現場を改ざんすれば すぐにわかります。こんなところでボロを出して私を失望させないでください。フーダニットが犯人のボロや出現で特定できるミステリーなんて三流だと思いません？
何を言っているのか分かりかねますが、不謹慎な発言は慎むように。お父様、いらっしゃいませんか？お返事をしてください。
Natsui started walking around and calling out in a loud voice, refusing to let Erika say any more. There was a knock. Kiri and the others who had gone down to the courtyard had returned.
やっぱりお父様はいない？
どっかに踏んじばられて閉じ込められてるかもな。それを探すところだ。
よくこんなところにいつまでも閉じこもっていられるもんだぜ。
諦めよう姉さん。もうなるようにしかならない。
奥様はどうなさるつもりかしら。
自分でついてきた嘘のつけさ。
運命は神様に委ねましょう。
I wouldn't be surprised if Erika was like, also, I have superhuman hearing abilities, so I know exactly what you said. But I won't say anything because that will ruin the mystery. Many people trapezed around Tinzo's vast study, looking here and there, inside the closet and in the bathtub, even in the refrigerator and under the study desk. They looked everywhere, almost as though they were it in a game of hide and seek. They're bringing up the thing about hide and seek again, hiding in closets. That's what Natsui's gonna be doing soon, right? As the guy said, I think 1 p.m. she's gotta hide in a closet and not be found. However, not only were they unable to spot Kinzo, they couldn't even find a single suspicious mark.
当主様がお留守であることはもう十分です。これ以上当主様の大切な書斎を荒らさないように。
Have they checked under the bed yet?
そうですよ、そうですよ。親方様は勝手に物を動かされるのを何より嫌いますからね。
お父様の姿はどこにもないわ。やっぱり事件に巻き込まれたのかしら。
そうと決めつけるわけにもいきませんが。
Natsui averted her gaze once more.
大丈夫だ、Natsuhi。
まさに背水の陣というところですね。万一書斎に踏み込まれた時にはどこかへ散歩にでも行っているのだろうとごまかすつもりでいました。しかし
殺人が起こり大勢が殺された屋敷内をのんびり真夜中の散歩としゃれ込んでいた。
I wonder if Balor's going to...
誰も納得はするまいな。
I wonder if Balor's going to bring up that he thought he saw Kinzo out where he solved the epitaph, at least proving that at some point he was alive.
私ならばむしろ本当にやりかねんが。
こらこら金蔵、おとなしくベッドの下に隠れておれ。大丈夫だ、Natsuhi。落ち着くがよい。いるものをいるとは断じれようが、いないものをいないとは断じれぬ。すなわち人間の世界はいようといまいといることのできる世界なのだ。
There's the quote-unquote exists, which happened a lot in this game, right? Something exists, in quotations.
そのいることのできる影こそが我ら魔女の悪魔の世界。
悪魔の証明ですね。
うん、だから安心するがよい。悪魔の力がそなたを絶対に守るぞ。
お父様と夫の名誉が守れるなら、私はこの身を悪魔に捧げようとも構いません。
良い覚悟だ。案ずるな。絶対に金蔵は殺させぬ。
At that moment, oh god, just the cutoff of the music just alarmed me a bit. At that moment, a dry sound suddenly rang out twice. Erika clapped her hands, seeking everyone's attention, though such an action should have been above a guest's place. For some reason, it already felt like a natural right of hers. After all, she was the detective.
これでもう十分と思います。この書斎に後宮金蔵さんの姿はありません。
ああ、隠れられる場所は全て探したぜ。親父の姿はない。
そして不審なものも何も見つけられなかったわ。
ええ、何も見つけられませんでした。
Erika said it again. They hadn't been able to discover anything. Maybe she's like, and that itself is strange.
ならこの部屋にいつまでも長居するべきではありません。これほどの大勢で書斎を物色したなど、当主様が知られたらどれほどお怒りになられることか。エヴァさん、あなたは責任を取られる覚悟があるとおっしゃいましたね。生涯絶縁されるくらいの覚悟は終わりなのでしょうね。
それを決めていいのはお父様ご自身だわ。あんたが決めることじゃないわよ。
お静かに。状況を整理したいと思います。昨夜の23時に最後にこの部屋で金蔵さんにお会いになられたのは夏日さんですね。それをどなたか証明できますか？
証明？
ええ、そうです。だって夏日さんが本当に昨夜の23時にここを訪れたかどうかは、夏日さんしか自称していません。
Did Badler tell Erika that she thought he saw Kinzo, or did he just keep that to himself? Is she going to tell Badler, like, you said you saw Kinzo, didn't you?
金蔵さんが昨夜確かに夏日さんがやってきたと証明してくれればいいのですが、その肝心の金蔵さんがおられませんので。
アリバイはミステリーの基本ってわけ。
ええ、そうです。アリバイは大事です。どうせ推理の役にはほとんど立たないのですが、その辺の重箱をつつかないといけないと。おさ
昨夜の殺人のアリバイ探しなんてやってもないくせに、じい様の失踪についてだけはアリバイ探しをするのかよ。本当に気まぐれなやつだぜ。
あ、ご安心を。もちろん第一の晩の殺人についても後みっちりとアリバイについて全員に確認させていただきますので、こうご期待を。それでどなたか夏日さんが23時にここを訪れたことを証明はできませんか？できなければ夏日さんが最終目撃者であることから疑わなければなりませんが。
私が信用できないというのですか？
いえいえ、むしろ逆です。
There's Natsui's paranoia coming out.
あなたには犯人であってほしくないんです。だってすっごくつまらないじゃないですか。一番怪しい人物が本当に犯人だったなんて三流ミステリーの極みです。
夏日さんが怪しい？待ってくれ。どうしてそういう論法になるんだね。
そうですとも。奥様が怪しいなど出現にも程があります。
That was pretty sneaky of Erika there, being like, oh, I don't want you to be suspicious, thus calling out the fact that she is suspicious.
静かに。南條先生、ゴーダ、ありがとう。エリカさん、それだけの無礼な発言をなさるに足る根拠は終わりなんでしょうね。
すっごいシンプルで嫌なんですけどね。テレビドラマレベルの根拠で恐縮ですが、それでもよければ。
If she points like Phoenix Wright, I'm gonna lose my mind. Please.
聞かせてもらおうじゃねえか。
When Badler glared at her, a cold expression rose to Erika's face for an instant. But it was only for an instant. After smiling peacefully and gazing around at everyone, she started to talk. She looked just like the main character in a play, who had come out onto center stage bathed in spotlight.
今朝の話です。殺人が起こって大騒ぎになった時のことを思い出してください。事件のことを金蔵さんに伝えたいけれど、いくら電話しても出てくれない。その時のことです。
とにかく連絡が取れんのはまずいんとちゃうか。下手したらお父さん事件が起こってることさえ知らんのやでな。
さあどうでしょう。
Keenly noticing that people were starting to doubt Kinzo's existence, Cannon mumbled his words.
最後にお父様に会ったのは誰？いつ？
私です。昨夜バトラ君が黄金を見つけたと騒ぎになる直前までお父様の書斎で一日の報告をしておりました。
昨夜の23時頃ですね。
Erika chuckled significantly.
それが何だというのですか。バカバカしい。
多分 キリエさんも狙って振ったんだと思います。
I love Erika. It's just like she recognizes Kyrie is quite intelligent like her.
そうですね。
振ったとはどういう意味でしょうか。
ひょっとすると誰か引っかかるかと
そうですね。ありがとう、キリエさん。実はあの発言はあなたがなさらなければ私がするつもりでおりました。
最後に親方様に会ったのは誰かという質問に、そんなにも意味があるというんですか。
I would say it's quite important, even like, I mean, come on.
はい、状況的に考えて最後に会ったのは誰という質問に対し、夏日さんが私ですと即答するのはとても不自然なんです。
I see. Because is Erika saying because how would Natsui know that someone else didn't come to see him afterwards?
どうしてですか。奥様は包み隠さず真実を。
静かに。それがどう不自然だというのですか。
どうしてあなたは23時以降金蔵さんが誰とも会わないと確信できるのですか。
それはお休みになられたのを見届けたからです。普通に考えればその後朝までお休みになられ誰とも会われないだろうと考えるのは自然なことです。
No, Natsui, you're being pushed against the wall.
状況的に考えて最終目撃者は何かの関与を疑われかねませんでした。普通の人間なら夏日さんと同じ立場だった時は最後に会ったのは私です、23時に会いましたとは言いませんですね、キリエさん。
ええ、そうよ。普通の人間だったなら23時に会ったのは私です。しかし私が最後に会った人間かどうかは分かりませんになるわ。
グッと最終目撃者だと名乗ることは普通困難なんです。自分が目撃した後に誰も目撃できないと確信できる理由をご存知でない限り、三流ミステリーですと最終目撃者は大抵犯人で。
This is no third-rate mystery. This is more than that. Come on.
自分が殺したのだからその後には誰とも会えるわけがないと、こういう論法で進むわけですが。
そんなのちょっとした言葉の言い違いではありませんか。そんなに目くじらを立てて取り立てるほど。
そうだそうだ、そんなのは揚げ足取りだ。そんな言葉尻だけで夏日さんを疑うのはちょっと早とちりなんじゃないかね。
それに誰も目撃できないと確信できる理由とあなたはおっしゃいますか。それももちろんあるではありませんか。奥様は親方様がお休みになるところを見届けられてから退出されたのです。常識的に考えて翌朝まで誰とも会わないだろうと考えるのは自然なことです。
いいえ、それが全然自然なことじゃないんです。何しろ夏日さん、南條先生、そして熊沢さんの3人がついさっきこう証言されました。これもどうぞ思い出してください。
最後に会ったのは夏日姉さんよね。昨夜の11時頃。それ以降に書斎を抜け出してどこかへ行ってしまったということなのかしら。
それはでもお父様は気まぐれな方。唐突に夢で啓示を受けたと言い出して深夜に起き出して、お屋敷の中を歩き回るようなこともよくありました。
So first she's saying like, well, he went to bed. It's obvious that that's the last time anybody would see anyone, but now she's also saying like, oh, it's not uncommon for him to walk around the mansion, so someone could have seen him out and about.
そうですよね、南條先
生。確かにそういうこともありましたが、とにかくその気まぐれな方だなあ、熊沢さん。
そうですわね。何かおかしな夢でも見て寝床を抜け出したのかもしれませんね。 よくあることでございますとも。
I wonder if Badler is going to bring up thinking that he saw him outside when he was out with Erika. I don't know what time that would have been around. Well, that was at the time that Natsui was in the study, right? And then... Or was she in bed at the time? Was she in her room? No. No, that's right, because Ava knocked on the door saying, like, Badler, you need to come downstairs, it's an emergency, because Badler had just solved the mystery, or the epitaph. So she was in the study, supposedly talking to him at the time, but then Badler also supposedly saw Kinzo outside around that same time.
ああ、じいさまが深夜に突然寝床を抜け出すこともよくあったと証言してるな。
グッド。バトラさん、なかなかの記憶力です。つまり夏日さんをはじめとした後ろ宮本家の方々は、
Oh man, this is looking so bad for Natsui right now.
金蔵さんが深夜に気まぐれに起き出して徘徊する可能性があり得ることをよくご存知でした。そしてそれはよくあることだと認識されていました。
おかしいじゃない。お父様がよく夜中に徘徊することがあると知っていながら、朝まで寝床を絶対に抜け出さないなんて確信できるわけがないわ。ねえ。
確かに三流ミステリーだな。よくラストの5分で犯人がいつから自分が犯人だと分かってたのかと聞くと、探偵が答えそうなシチュエーションだ。
ですよね。だからげんなりしてます。これで本当に夏日さんが犯人だったらお茶の間ミステリー以下ですから。だから私、夏日さんの疑いを真っ先に晴らしたいんです。このミステリーが三流じゃないってことを一番最初に確かめたくて。
焦ることはないぞ夏日。探偵気取りお得意の言葉遊びよ。だからなんだというのか。この発言だけでそなたをどう追い詰められるというのか。地獄の法廷とて陪審員の悪魔たちは全員そなたの無罪に投じるわ。だからうろたえず落ち着くのだ。
確かにそういう風に言われりゃ夏日おばさんが不審そうにも見えるさ。だが俺にはただの揚げ足取りにしか聞こえねえぜ。
Oh, are Badler and Erika about to have a showdown of words like with Beato?
でも怪しいわ。夏日姉さんが何かを隠してるかもしれないと疑うきっかけには十分だと思うけれど。
全くの言いがかりです。
Badler, are you going to pull out the fact? Or are you going to try and help Natsui by saying like, well, I might have seen him out and about, so she might not be lying. She might have just been, she worded it wrong. But after Ava like called her down, they were pretty much all with each other for most of the time.
それに卑怯ですよ、エヴァさん。私が23時に確かにここにいたことは他ならぬあなたが証明できるではありませんか。
そうなんですか、エヴァさん。
Oh, Ava, you sneaky little... Aw, yeah.
あら、そうだったかしら。ごめんなさいね。何しろあの時は黄金が見つかったと気が動転していたから。今の今まで夏日姉さんに会ったの忘れていたわ。
エヴァさんが夏日さんが23時の目撃者であることを証明できるのですね。
ええ、残念なことにね。夏日姉さんの言い分を一部は認めることができるわ。この部屋から出てきたということだけはね。
何が言いたいのですか。
Is Ava also saying Natsui could be the only one who could possibly have killed Kinzo because Kinzo had the 2 keys, so nobody else would be able to get in here? If Natsui was the last one apparently with him, she's even more suspicious now.
私が言いたいのはこういうことよ。いいえ、ずっと前から言いたかったの。
こんな悲惨な殺人事件の真っ最中に
All right.
こんなことを言い出すのは本当に場違いだと分かっているけれど
All the cards are on the table now.
今がちょうどいいタイミングだから言わせてちょうだい。分かってるわよね、夏日姉さん。
The servants gulped and held their breaths. It seemed they hadn't been able to hide it after all. In the middle of this heavy silence, Ava fingered her trump card, and Natsui pretended to be calm. Both space and time grew as heavy as lead and swallowed up everything.
金蔵さんっていつからいらっしゃられないんですか？
And then, of course, Erika has to just take that away from Ava. Was building up and building up. She's just like, I've been wanting to say this for a long time. Then Erika just swoops in and steals the thunder. Erika's words, spoken almost casually, tore that atmosphere to pieces like shattering glass.
はっきり言うと、俺たちは今年はおろか、去年の親族会議でさえ会っちゃいねえ。
そうや、わしらは去年の時点から疑っとった。息子たちが殺されたこんな時にこんなことを追求するのは場違いかもしれんとは思っとる。だがひょっとしたら事件と関係があるかもしれんから今追及させてもらうで。
夏日姉さんたちにはお父さんの死を隠す動機があり得るの。お父さんの財産を横領しているかもしれない嫌疑よ。
もしお父様が死ねば財産分配のために調査が行われ、横領は白日のもとにさらされるわ。だからあんたはお父様がすでに亡くなっているのを隠しているのよ。
なるほど、ホワイトニットは十分というわけですか。ますますにもって三流です。はあ、つまらない。
何を言っているのか分かりません。私が当主様の死を隠していると、そんな暴言断じて許せません。
そうですとも。奥様だけでなく日頃から他の使用人たちの親方様のお世話をし、その姿を見ていますとも。源氏さんやシャノンさんやカノン君や南條先生に熊沢さんだってよくお会いしている。
Goda just threw them all under the bus once again without realizing it. He's just trying to help. Poor Goda.
私は信頼がないのか。昨年からずっと姿をお見かけしていませんが。
You didn't have to add that last part, dude.
黙りなさい、ゴーダ。
申し訳ございません。
夏日さん以外の目撃者はすべて御用関係にある使用人だけではありませんか。金を握らせて口裏を合わせたなんて、はあ、本当に三流。くだらないくだらない、がっかりですよ、夏日さん。だからもう断じてしまおうと思います。
何をですか。
後ろ宮金蔵さん。
何か招かれざる客人よ。
あなたは存在していませんね。遺産問題であなたの死を知られたくない人間たちによってその死を隠蔽された亡霊です。亡霊は亡霊らしく、とっとと現世を立ち去るべきです。初めてお会いしたのにご挨拶もまだでしたね。これはじめまして、こんにちは。そしてさようなら。
Beato's pipe stopped mere millimeters from Erika. Oh, here we go. Damn. All right, showdown between Beato and Erika. Beato's pipe stopped mere millimeters from Erika's face. So close, you might have just barely been able to wedge a single sheet of paper between them. I love when this music happens. It's so... Oh, you're like, yeah, shit's about to go down.
そしてこんにちはだ。後ろ宮家顧問錬金術師黄金のベアトリーチェ。そなたの喧嘩、ここよりはわらわが買い取ろうぞ。
どうもはじめまして。このゲームの探偵フルドエリカです。よろしくお見知りおきを。そしてこれからさようなら。
そなたがエンジェの次のベルンカステル教の駒であるか。
あやつとは結局満足に戦えなくて残念だった。今度こそ手合わせできて嬉しいぞ、ベルンカステル教の駒。
我が主は全能にして万能。間抜けならあなたとは比べ物になりません。どうかよろしくお手合わせを。
冷静よの。こうして魔女が登場してこれから魔法やファンタジーで戦おうというのにな。バトラ程度ならこんなのミステリーじゃないって泣きわめいて土下座しているところだぞ。
ああ、ミステリーでも最近はそういう異世界もポピュラーですので。メタ的な空間から安楽室に座って推理を行う探偵さん、あなたはご存知で？
時代交渉をわきまえよ。その作家のデビューは来年。
Yes, there's another reference I don't understand to, I'm sure, some book or anime or manga or something.
魔女のくせに細かいこと気にしますね。
魔女と対等のつもりか。うぬぼれるな、この人間風情が。
Beato snapped her fingers and something bounced around the room at terrifying speeds. It was the witch's stake, the witch's wedge, which contained the power of the blue truth within it. Of course, a mere human like Erika couldn't follow its terrible speed with her eyes. Erika understood this, so she didn't attempt to look every which way, stupidly trying to spot it.
ノロマが食らうがいい。
With a terrible sound, Lucifer's blue stake buried itself into Erika's right collarbone. It shot all the way through and out of her back. Spinning as she rebounded off the walls, Lucifer landed in front of Beato and disappeared, laughing shrilly. Erika wasn't blown back. However, a blue wedge was stuck deeply into her.
これが青き真実とやらですか。
Interesting, it's the blue truth. Isn't usually the blue truth is for the humans and red truth is for the witches, right?
では、ご考説を賜ります。
23時にナツヒが金蔵に出会った可能性を否定はできぬぞ。その後、そなたらが書斎に押し入るまでの6時間以上もの間、金蔵はいくらでもこの書斎を抜け出す余地があった。以上により、金蔵が存在しないとそなたに断言はできぬわ。
Beato announced that with an expression worthy of her title as witch. Erika, on the other hand, was silent. Was she too shocked to speak? There was no anguish in her expression. She was just quietly listening to Beato's blue truth. No, judging by her disdainful expression, it would probably more appropriate to say Beato's words went in one ear and out the other.
グッと。まずは王道です。硬いですね、これ。抜けない。
She tried pulling from the front and the back of the blue wedge that pierced her, but it didn't budge an inch. However, her indifferent, relaxed expression didn't budge an inch either.
抜けぬわ。青き真実は赤き真実によってしか打ち破れぬ。この島にやってきて一日を経たかどうかの客人であるそなたに理解しうる真実など存在せぬ。そんなそなたに使える赤など存在しないのだ。つまりはチェックメイト。
なるほど。ここはそういう空間ですか。なら魔女と戦うにふさわしい駒が必要ということですね。私は探偵。人間の犯人を相手にするのを役目としましょう。あなたは魔女。魔女やら悪魔やらを相手にする役目ならふさわしい駒がいます。ご紹介しましょう。
Oh, what's this?
ミス・ドラノール。
What? Oh, we're getting another character?
あなたの出番のようです。
They're just dropping new characters all over the place, even this late in the game.
ドラノール。
やっぱりね。いつか絶対に持ってくる駒だと思ってたわ。魔女を狩る銃のくさび、魔女狩り大司教ドラノール。
悪魔との戦いにこれほどふさわしい駒はいないわ。私の分身たるエリカに魔女の最大の天敵ドラノール、 私は2つのルークで今やセブンスランクを支配したわ。見せてもらうわよ、ラムダデルタ、そしてベアトリーチェ。あんたたちの無駄なあがきよね。
Alright guys, sorry to leave it on that little bit of a cliffhanger, just about to be introduced to yet another character in this game. Delanor, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but Natsui really seems to have her back up against the wall. Like I said, the cards are down. The siblings are just straight up saying that they have a feeling Kinzo's already dead and she's hiding it. And with this other character introduced to fight Beatrice, we'll see. We'll see if there's some way that Natsui can get out of this, or maybe something is going to happen to draw their attention away from the argument at hand and maybe buy her a little bit more time. And of course, there's still the issue of Kraus and this mysterious guy who is taunting Natsui as well. Either way, she's just having a really bad day. But I'm very excited to see this battle between Beatrice and this new character, so I'm looking forward to it. I hope you guys are too. Stay tuned next week for that, and yeah, I will catch you in the next one. Until then, bye. Special shoutouts to my top tier patrons: Nana, Kaori Mikoto, Revealing Storm, Tequila Mockingbird, Jared Fan, Joel Ostman, Harry Gazif, Pirate, Punkcake G, Asborn Kennedy, iCognito, and Saya.